You think the suburbs are quiet until a pearl-clutching HOA president turns your morning fishing ritual into a federal case. What this control freak didn't know was that every drop of water she was charging neighbors to touch had my name on the deed the whole time. The first time Linda Hargrove laid eyes on Willow Creek Estates, she saw dollar signs wrapped in white picket fences. I saw trouble in a pastel pantsuit. I'd been living on the same corner lot for 24 years. The one with the 4-acre spring-fed pond that my grandfather deeded to our family back when this whole subdivision was still farmland. Every dawn I'd walk down the gentle slope behind my house, cast a line into water so clear you could see the base hovering like ghosts, and let the world fade. After my wife Claire passed, that pond became the only place the ache in my chest eased a little. The neighbors knew it. They'd wave, borrow a rod, share a cooler of beer on the dock I built myself. No fees. No forms. Just people being decent. Then Linda moved in. 6 months after her divorce settlement bought her the biggest McMansion on the cul-de-sac. She called an emergency community meeting in the clubhouse none of us remembered paying for. She showed up in a cream blazer, helmet hair sprayed into submission, and a PowerPoint titled Protecting Our Investment, Why Willow Creek Needs Professional Governance. She clicked through slides about declining property values, liability risks, and how unregulated pond access was inviting chaos. Her solution? Form an HOA. Mandatory. $175 a month per household for pond maintenance and recreational oversight. Catch and release only. Approved fishing hours. Pre-approved bait. No loitering after sunset. She smiled the whole time like she was handing out puppies. I sat in the back row sipping bad coffee and watched longtime residents shift uncomfortably in their folding chairs. Old Mrs. Alvarez, who'd lost her husband last winter, clutched her purse like it might run away. It's for everyone's good, Linda cooed when someone asked about the fees. We're building community standards. I waited until the end. Raised my hand polite as Sunday school. Ma'am, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I won't be joining. The pond's been open to folks here for decades. Never been a problem. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes went flat. Mr. Caldwell. Is it? This isn't optional. The pond is a common area. Everyone benefits. Everyone contributes. It's only fair. I smiled back. Funny thing about that pond. It's actually on my property. Always has been. A few people chuckled nervously. Linda's laugh was sharper. We'll see about that. That was the moment the mask slipped. Just a hair. The first violation notice arrived in my mailbox 3 days later. Laminated and smelling like fresh toner. Unauthorized use of HOA managed waters. Fine, $250. Cease immediately. Attached were time-stamped photos of me fishing at 5:47 a.m. She must have been up with binoculars like a suburban sniper. I didn't argue. I kept fishing. What was she going to do? Drag me out of the water herself? She tried. One Tuesday morning the mist was still rising off the pond when I heard heels clacking down the path like an angry metronome. Linda appeared in a pink cardigan that probably cost more than my truck payment. Phone in one hand, the other pointing like she was directing traffic at a 5-car pileup. Mr. Caldwell. This is your final warning. You are trespassing on association property. I've already contacted the sheriff's department. I reeled in a small bluegill, unhooked it gently, and let it go. Morning. Linda. Water's nice today. You should try it sometime instead of just staring at it through your window. Her face flushed the color of her cardigan. This isn't a joke. The rules are for everyone's safety and property values. You're setting a dangerous precedent. Precedent? I wiped my hands on a rag. Lady. I was catching breakfast here when your subdivision was still blueprints. The pond's been in my family since Truman was president. You might want to double-check those fancy documents before you start handing out fines. She smiled the thin, satisfied smile of someone who'd already won in her own head. We'll let the authorities sort it out. Deputy Ramirez showed up 20 minutes later looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He was local. Knew my wife from the PTA days. Ethan. I'm sorry. Man. She filed a formal complaint. I gotta ask you to leave for now. Linda stood 20 yards away on her deck. Arms crossed. That same smirk carved into her face like it was permanent. I packed my tackle box slow, letting the latch snap loud enough to echo across the water. No problem. Deputy. Rules are rules. Right? As I walked past her, I tipped my cap. Have a blessed day. Linda. Wouldn't want to disrupt community harmony. Her smirk faltered for half a second. That was the first time I saw the crack. Things escalated faster than crabgrass in July. Laminated HOA property, members-only signs sprouted around the pond like toxic mushrooms. She hired a bored-looking security guard who spent most of his shift scrolling TikTok. She started fining other neighbors too, Mrs. Alvarez for her collection of painted garden rocks, visual pollution. The young couple on Maple for flying an American flag on a non-approved pole. Old Mr. Patterson for leaving his fishing boat visible from the street. The neighborhood group chat turned into a battlefield. Linda posted daily updates about non-compliant residents undermining our standards. Someone started calling me the pond pirate in anonymous comments. I stayed quiet. I smiled at the grocery store. I helped Mrs. Alvarez carry her groceries anyway. But every night I sat at my kitchen table with a growing folder, photos, dates, copies of her notices, recordings of her increasingly unhinged voicemails. I wasn't angry. I was patient. The kind of patient that wins wars. I drove down to the county records office on a Wednesday when the heat made the asphalt shimmer. Joyce, the clerk who'd known my grandfather, pulled out the original 1952 subdivision plat. She adjusted her glasses and whistled low. Ethan. Honey, your granddaddy didn't just sell the land. He retained full mineral, water, and bed rights to that pond. Perpetual. Never transferred. The HOA's been charging people to use something they don't own a single drop of. I leaned back in the creaky chair. You're telling me I own the pond? Lock, stock, and spring water. They built the whole neighborhood around it and never bothered to check the fine print. Classic. The real fun started when Linda decided to go nuclear. She organized a community beautification project that included installing a decorative white vinyl fence across the old footpath to the pond, the same path every kid in the neighborhood had used for 20 years. She scheduled it for a Saturday morning when half the retirees would be trying to take their doctor-ordered walks. I watched from my porch as the crew hammered posts into the ground. Linda supervised in a lavender outfit, sipping from a monogram tumbler, barking orders like a general who'd never seen combat. When Mr. Patterson showed up in his orthopedic shoes and asked why he couldn't use the path he'd walked since Reagan, she gave him the same frozen smile. Safety and liability. Mr. Patterson. The association has spoken. That afternoon 3 different neighbors knocked on my door. They weren't asking for permission anymore. They were asking for help. I didn't rush. I hired a surveyor. I called a real estate attorney who specialized in old deeds. I kept fishing, early, quiet, and always with my phone recording. Every time the security guard told me to leave, I complied politely and added another timestamp to the file. The county hearing was supposed to be Linda's coronation. She'd requested official enforcement authority for the HOA, complete with the ability to levy liens. She arrived early in a power suit. Entourage of 3 other neighborhood Karens carrying color-coordinated binders. Her PowerPoint had graphs, testimonials, and a section literally titled The Caldwell Problem. I walked in wearing the same flannel I fished in, carrying one manila folder. The room was packed. Even people from neighboring subdivisions had heard the rumors. Linda took the podium first. Her voice dripped honey and condescension. Commissioners, we're simply trying to protect our property values and create a safe, orderly community. One resident in particular has repeatedly defied reasonable rules. Fishing at all hours. Encouraging others to ignore association guidelines. This kind of entitlement hurts everyone. She clicked to a slide of me holding a fishing rod. The caption read "Repeat Offender." The room murmured. Linda looked victorious. Then the chairman nodded at me. "Mr. Caldwell. Your response." I walked up slow. Opened the folder. Laid the original 1952 deed on the table. The county seal bright under the lights. Commissioners, I'd like to clarify something. Ms. Hargrove has been collecting fees and issuing fines for access to a pond that I legally own in full. The water, the bed, the riparian rights, everything. My grandfather retained them when he subdivided the land. The HOA has been running an unauthorized toll booth on private property for the last 7 months. You could hear a pin drop. Linda's face went through stages: confusion, disbelief, then the beautiful shade of rage that only comes when a bully realizes the little guy just flipped the board. "That's absurd," she sputtered. "We researched this. The pond is common area. Our bylaws." "Your bylaws don't override a deed from 1952, my attorney said calmly, stepping forward with a full chain of title and the surveyor's report. "Every fine, every fee, every threatening letter has been an attempt to extort money for access to Mr. Caldwell's private property." The room exploded. Phones came out. Someone actually clapped. Linda stood there gripping the podium so hard her knuckles went white. Mouth opening and closing like a landed fish. The aftermath was pure poetry. The HOA dissolved within weeks. Members fled like rats off a sinking yacht. The ridiculous fence came down the same day the county order hit. The signs disappeared overnight. "Mrs. Alvarez got to keep her garden rocks." The flag flew again. And the pond went back to being what it always was, a place for neighbors to fish, laugh, and remember that not everything needs a committee. Linda listed her house 2 weeks later. Sold at a loss to a young family who immediately invited the whole street over for a barbecue on the dock. I still fish at dawn. Sometimes the new kids join me. No fees. No rules. Just people. Here's the thing that still makes me chuckle in the quiet hours. Linda thought she was protecting property values. Turns out the most valuable thing in Willow Creek wasn't the manicured lawns or the matching mailboxes. It was the simple freedom to live without someone else's boot on your neck. So tell me in the comments, was Linda just a passionate neighbor trying to improve the community? Or was she a classic power-tripping Karen who finally met the one guy who owned the battlefield? Who was really in the wrong here? Drop your worst HOA horror story below. I read every single one.